The first thing people usually notice is the way Roxy races straight toward Diesel, almost like she's been waiting all day just to surprise him. She'll creep up as quietly as she can, then leap onto him without warning. Diesel never seems to mind. He simply stands there, lets her have her fun, and before long, they're chasing each other around the yard again. Watching them now, it's hard to believe their story started very differently. The funny thing is, bringing home a fox had never been part of our plans. A few years earlier, my husband told me he wanted to adopt a rescue fox. My first reaction was that he had completely lost his mind. Foxes aren't typical pets. They're wild, independent animals, and I wasn't convinced our home could ever be the right place for one. But seeing how excited he was made me willing to learn instead of saying no. We visited a sanctuary where tame foxes were already living. Roxy's parents had both been born in captivity, so they couldn't have prepared her for life in the wild. Before making any decisions, we spent a long time talking with veterinarians and wildlife experts. We wanted to know that she could live comfortably in a home and wouldn't suffer because she wasn't in a natural habitat. Once we decided to bring her home, my husband threw himself into getting everything ready. Nearly half of our basement became a space designed just for Roxy, with little hiding spots, cozy sleeping areas, tunnels, and plenty of things to explore. We kept learning as we went, figuring out what foods she liked and paying close attention to her behavior so we could understand what she needed. When Roxy finally came home, she was unbelievably small. She couldn't even support herself on her tiny legs, and she looked more like a fluffy little puffball than a fox. We carried her almost everywhere, feeding her warm milk whenever she woke up. Her eyes were only beginning to adjust to the world, and everything around her seemed so much bigger than she was. Holding her in my arms felt surprisingly similar to holding a newborn. She depended on us for everything, and I fell in love with her almost instantly. There was just one question that still worried me. We already had Diesel. The moment we picked Roxy up for the first time, Diesel made it very clear he wasn't impressed. He immediately got up and did everything he could to remind us he was still there. It honestly felt like he was asking, wait, so I'm not the favorite anymore? I couldn't help wondering if jealousy would become a real problem. Thankfully, time changed everything. It took about 6 months before Roxy truly settled into life with us. As she grew, her confidence grew with her. She became endlessly curious, playful, and full of energy. Somewhere along the way, Diesel changed too. The cautious looks disappeared, replaced by gentle games that slowly became more energetic as they learned to trust each other. These days are rarely far apart. If they spend even a few hours separated, seeing each other again turns into its own little celebration. Roxy bounces excitedly with her tail wagging, while Diesel quietly greets her by touching his nose to hers. After they've worn themselves out, we usually separate them so they can rest, but Diesel still keeps an eye on where Roxy is, almost as if he's making sure his little sister is safe. Looking back, I smile whenever I remember how nervous I was about bringing a fox into a house with a dog. What I expected to be the biggest challenge ended up becoming the most rewarding part of the experience. Watching Diesel accept Roxy as family has reminded me that friendships don't always form the way we imagine. Sometimes they simply grow, little by little, until one day you can't picture either one without the other.